Hi there, my name is Eric Morrison, and I am a candidate for the Delaware State House of Representatives here in the 27th District in the Newark, Bear, Glasgow area. And I just wanted to share first exactly kind of why I'm running for office. I'm very proud of my long history of service to the community. I'm a lifelong Delawarean. I've held a lot of volunteer and leadership roles in various organizations and on various progressive Democratic campaigns, and I'm very proud of that work. Um, Also, I am facing a 6 term Democratic incumbent opponent who, in a district where we have twice as many Democrats as Republicans, first does not adhere to some of the most basic tenets of the Democratic Party. For example, in 2017, he voted against a woman's right to choose in Delaware if Roe versus Wade is overturned at the federal level. In 2013, he voted against same sex marriage. And again in 2017, he refused to vote yes or no on a bill banning conversion therapy for Delaware's LGBT minors. So I think that our district, given that we have twice as many Democrats as Republicans, deserves, first of all, a representative who adheres to some of the most basic tenets of the party. Also, from speaking with thousands um, of district Democratic residents at this point, um, this district is so much more progressive and modern and diverse than I think our current representative realizes. He's been in office 12 years, and the district has changed a lot in that time, and it's a very different district than it was then. And I don't think that this district is getting the representation that it needs and that it deserves. Um, so with that being said, some of my top issues, and I'm passionate about a lot of issues. First of all, I spent 6 years as a full-time educator and many years as a part-time educator thereafter. So I'm very passionate about education, especially funding. I think, unlike my opponent, I believe we need to consolidate some of Delaware's excessive 19 public school districts. We have 2 school districts with 1 school each, one with 2 schools, several with 4 schools, and 11 out of our 19 school districts have numbers of school districts in the single digits. I know it's not popular to talk about, but we have an extremely bloated and nepotistic administration in our public schools in Delaware. We need to cut that seriously, and we need to take the cost savings from consolidating school districts and from cutting our administration and put that towards students and teachers where the money should be going. Also, unlike my opponent, I support very strong audits of charter schools. Unfortunately, in Delaware, charter schools, and not all of them, of course, but charter schools in Delaware do have a history of fiscal malfeasance and mismanagement, and also in some cases violation of state law. And we need to keep our eyes on that very, very seriously and hold folks accountable. We also need to do away with our horrible referendum funding system, for one reason alone, because people in districts that are more affluent, those folks say, "Hey, sure, I have the money. I'll vote for more taxes to make my schools better." So those schools keep getting better. But then you have people in less affluent districts who do not make the income, and they say, "I simply can't afford more taxes," and they vote against referendums. So those schools keep getting worse. So you end up with the better districts getting better and the struggling districts struggling even more. I'm also passionate about criminal justice reform, in particular cannabis legalization, which is funny because I personally do not even use cannabis. But the history of cannabis in America, making it criminal, is rooted in extremely racist, a very racist narrative. When we study it, it has to this day disproportionately adversely affected communities of color in just absolutely devastating ways, in addition to people who are less affluent. So in addition to making cannabis legal, we must also expunge all cannabis-related charges from the records of affected Delawareans. We have people sitting in prison for cannabis charges. They should be with their families, in their communities. They should not have lost their jobs. And for people who are out of prison with cannabis charges, they need those records expunged so they can find decent jobs to take care of themselves and to take care of their families and to contribute to society. Something else I'm passionate about when it comes to criminal justice that not a lot of people talk about is ending solitary confinement. It's an absolutely barbaric practice. It makes inmates much more statistically susceptible to physical and sexual abuse by prison workers. It is extremely psychological and emotionally scarring for prisoners and makes them act out and lash out, which puts not just them but also prison workers at greater risk of harm or even death. So that's something that I want to try to bring to the forefront as the next representative here in our district. I'm also passionate about equality for everyone. As a proud, open gay man, LGBT equality is very important to me, and unfortunately, it's not as important and to my opponent, who does not support full equality and protections for LGBT folks. And that extends to all marginalized groups, whether it's race, religion, gender, whatever it is. Also, I'm passionate about a woman's right to choose. I am passionate about having absolutely no erosion of that right whatsoever. And unfortunately, my opponent in 2017 voted against a woman's right to choose here in Delaware if Roe versus Wade is overturned at the federal level, and I find that unacceptable. I'm passionate about helping our seniors and with health care. I worked for 13 years of my career in Medicaid and Medicare. I worked on the state side and on the private side. And I worked with a lot of wonderful seniors. I helped implement the Medicare Part D prescription drug plans here in Delaware. I went out and signed up seniors and educated them, and that was one of the favorite things I've ever done in my career. I also worked for the Delaware Prescription Assistance Program, which each year helps thousands of Delawareans seniors afford prescriptions and their Medicare prescription drug plan premiums. So programs like that and improved health care are so important. I also support Medicaid buy-in until we get Medicare for all at a federal level, and I support putting prescription caps in for various prescriptions, as many as possible, especially the more popular and expensive ones, not just for insured folks, but for uninsured folks. And I guess to wrap it up, another issue that I'm passionate about is electoral and campaign finance reform. And I think too, if you want to talk the talk, you have to walk the walk. I'm very proud that in 2019, we actually outraised my opponent almost 3-1, but 99.8% of our contributions came from individual donors. Last year, 2019, only about 34.9% of my opponent's contributions came from individual donors. We do not take money from corporations. We do not take money from special business interests. We don't take money from political action committees, and we don't take money from the fossil fuel industry. I absolutely do not believe that you can take money from those entities and then at the end of the day go represent the people and not those entities. I do not accept that. And we need elected officials who are swayed by what the people want and by what the people need, and not by what corporations and the ultra wealthy and special interests want. So I hope this video helps you to understand a little bit about me and why I'm running for office and some of my top issues. And I hope you'll consider me for the position of the Delaware State House of Representatives for the 27th District here in the Newark Bear area. Thank you. Take care.